This is a professor, CBMG PhD, and today's Wednesday, March 10th, 2010. It is 9:09, 11 seconds a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this is my testimony, so let's hop to it here. I would like to call my write-up the Statement of the Year. I am writing with experience around psychiatry science, computers, and molecular microbiology, and on a mission to further my investigations into the horrible abuse, brute force, and barbaric treatments of psychiatry. In my experience, mainly at North Bay Psychiatric Hospital and throughout Canada, Ontario, my devastating experiences and stays in psychiatric facilities, often witnessing patients being physically and mentally tortured by ward staff and psychiatrists in many different forms. A great number of nurses only had a couple weeks of training upon completion of 8 months of college for RPN. Yet these false nurses would walk around the wards with a simple pen and pad writing and charting incriminating offensive rumors and slander about patients that were unknown to them, some secretly resulting in nursing gossip being false accusations of ignorance. You get false doctors that will walk into the room and ask their patients if they are taking their medications for false written symptoms obtained by random nurses. That was easily fabricated to match up to a DSM illness, which are voted in by psychiatrists, especially being outnumbered by a majority of false nurses. They seem to have their own tales about everybody. While patients are forced to take dangerous and life-threatening prescriptions upon arrival in hospital, regardless of physical legitimate diagnosis, after a layman fake 72-hour assessment, patients are all ordered to take powerful mind-altering, damaging psychiatric prescriptions, regardless on how well they present themselves. Incarcerated against their will under the isolation of the psychiatric institutions, involuntary patients are forced to take these brain-damaging and deadly brute treatments, which result in painful, long-standing, and most times permanent suffering side effects. A lot of patients are also forced to take shock treatments, which cause permanent brain damage, and then result in these painful barbaric treatments and prescriptions. Patients often become ill, high with severe symptoms of nerve damage, tremors, and psychosis, which makes them look mentally dysfunctional. In result of this psychological and physical image, false doctors will reinforce even more powerful cocktails of deadly prescriptions and brain-damaging shock treatments. I'm an expert witness in this particular field. I witnessed psychiatrists overprescribing to co-patients until they collapsed and died of heart attacks. And the reality of this typical real-life practice of injustice and inhumane barbaric treatments went on for many decades, which often led normal and healthy people to premature aging, leading to premature deaths. I often witness normal and healthy people die of heart attacks because of the collapse and nerve damage and the stress psychiatric drugs have on the heart, body, and brain. Overprescribing also caused patients tons of health problems, memory loss due to shrinkage of the brain, also known as hole in the head, and eventually stroke, cardiovascular problems, heart attack, then death. In result of the impact of damaging psychiatric drugs, patients often complain of tremors, EPS, which cause nerve damage, brain and body, involuntary twitching in the face and body with uncomfortable, painful feelings in parts of the face, head, and body, making them look sick. We do not deny people will typically experience emotional problems throughout their lifetime, but unless there is real medical evidence of conditions or cures. Why are psychiatrists classifying every human behavior as disease and calling themselves real doctors without preliminary biological tests or scientific evidence? As there has never been a proven scientific study to diagnose whether mental health is gene-related, ever, nor has there ever been any preliminary studies to prove there is a biological chemical imbalance in the human brain. False doctors play with drugs they do not understand for one quick and dirty simple reason. They are not in this particular field for the help of the people. Psychiatrists are simply in the lucre of the profits, control, and narcissistic megalomania. False doctors murder and cause serious illness in normal, healthy people in the name of helping them. 80 million school children in the world forced into psychiatry and put on the psychiatric drugs. Common sense tells us that these are the biggest scams taking place on a global scale. False doctors are bought and paid by the pharmaceutical companies to market their drugs, one of the biggest scams in the modern generation, yet many more to come if they are not stopped. The medical industry owned the technologies to cure the sick, had been known for decades, and in full-scale availability. Why do governments want to fix everyone on a drug permanently? Because false doctors and pharmaceutical companies are highly profitable. It is big business to market pharmaceuticals. I was also reading in the local newspaper, and this scam is getting to the point of traumatic outrage. Professors for colleges are currently brainwashing college students to promote mental health by manipulating and persuading children to participate in a mental health questionnaire for a video competition to win prizes in order to label the youth with a mental disability. Reason being the school board gets $500 a month for every child that has a learning disability or psychiatric diagnosis. What do you know? Money really does grow on trees. Pushing psychiatric drugs and pseudoscience into the lives of children and uneducated adults to foresee the future or direction mental health is headed. They are now trying to market pharmaceuticals by brainwashing kids, false labeling, and then drugging them. Everybody knows that even adults are being pumped with misinformation today. Nobody wants to hear the truth, because the truth hurts, doesn't it? But the truth also stands tall. Nobody does thorough examination nor homework. They just instantly and carelessly judge. Everybody then stamp an arbitrary mental health label on everyone for lucrative profits, seeking a quick and dirty quick fix to life. I believe for public ridicule, it is a way to discredit, marginalize, control, and dominate the layman, especially the vulnerable, children, and the elderly, for full profits. Health care is misleading, especially when it comes to children. Let's allow children to label themselves, instead of saying, for example, a child has ADHD. Let's say they are just a kid, and allow their brains to develop naturally, freely and eloquently, without drugs, chemical lobotomies, and brain damage. I was also a child victim of psychiatric abuse, forced isolation, forcible confinements, drugging, and mental abuse from staff nurses, psychiatrists, and psychologists. And from this I know that these labels can do a lot of damage, following you around throughout your entire lifetime. I wish I could go back in time to stop the abuse from happening, but my mind has already underwent psychological, physical damage, and brain shrinkage. My body suffered stress from gaining weight, feeling tired all the time, which halted my career and damaged my reputation, especially stigmatizing my family and friends. I am worried about longer-term effects of these psychiatric drugs, such as not being able to reach my maximum potential, causing me eventual organ damage. Brain damage, premature aging leading to premature death, especially when my goal since childhood was to live up until 150 years old. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it so much. My hope is that you can find value in my story, hopefully restore human dignity, peace, tranquility, for the future of perseverance, and a long, healthy quality of life. This video was created for educational purposes only. Codename Will, Professor Christopher Brunet, Leader of Research, Scientist, Ufologist, Psychic, Computer Programmer, Computer Technician, Philanthropist, Writer, Mathematician, Artist, Photographer, Film Producer, Chef, Animal, and Nature Lover. Passion, World Peace. This is a Professor, CBMG, PhD.